Welcome to Eclipsed Horrors, where chills run down your spine with every tale we unfold. Brace yourselves for a journey into the macabre. Story 1. In the quiet town of Willowbrook, nestled deep within a forest, stood a house that had long been abandoned. It was a grand old mansion, its ornate architecture a testament to a bygone era. For years, the townsfolk spoke in hushed tones about the mansion, telling tales of eerie lights flickering in its windows at night and ghostly whispers carried on the wind. One gloomy afternoon, a family from the city, the Harrisons, decided to move to Willowbrook in search of a quieter life. The patriarch, David, had recently inherited the mansion from a distant relative he'd never met. Despite the unsettling stories, the allure of the house's grandeur was too strong to resist. As the Harrisons settled into their new home, they couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Strange occurrences began to haunt them. Objects moved on their own, and the temperature in certain rooms plummeted, even on the warmest days. One night, their daughter Emily awoke to the sound of a child's laughter echoing through the dark hallways. She crept out of her room and followed the sound, which led her to a locked attic door. The laughter grew louder, and tiny, ghostly handprints appeared on the dusty floor. Terrified, Emily rushed to her parents' room, but when they returned to the attic, there was nothing there. David dismissed it as her imagination, but he couldn't ignore the feeling of dread that seemed to permeate the house. The following evening, as a thunderstorm raged outside, the Harrisons gathered in the living room. Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness, and a blood-curdling scream echoed from the attic. They scrambled to the door, but it wouldn't budge. Desperation filled the air as ghostly figures emerged from the shadows. A spectral child, with hollow eyes and a mournful expression, appeared before them. The child pointed to the attic and beckoned them to follow. They had no choice but to obey. In the attic, they discovered an old, decaying crib. Inside lay the remains of a baby, its tiny fingers outstretched toward them. The child's spirit sobbed, its misery palpable. As the family realized the truth, they understood that the house held a dark secret. It had been a place of unspeakable suffering for the child, abandoned and left to die. The mansion had absorbed its pain, becoming a malevolent force. With great effort, they managed to escape the mansion, leaving it to the spirits that dwelled within. Willowbrook's haunted house had claimed yet another family, a reminder that some horrors could never be left behind, no matter how grand the house or how quiet the town. Story 2. In the heart of a remote, fog-shrouded forest, there stood a house that had been empty for decades. Known to locals as the Blackwood Manor, it was a place whispered about in hushed tones, its very name a symbol of terror. No one dared venture near it after dark, for the darkness seemed to cling to it like a curse. One crisp autumn morning, a young couple, Mark and Sarah, searching for a fresh start, stumbled upon the house. They had been driving for hours, seeking refuge from the city's chaos. When they saw the ancient mansion through the trees, they were captivated by its eerie charm and decided to make it their new home. As they moved in, the house welcomed them with an unsettling chill. Sarah's footsteps echoed strangely on the wooden floors, and Mark couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Despite the foreboding atmosphere, they convinced themselves it was just their imagination. One evening, as they were exploring the house, they discovered a hidden door in the basement. It led to a subterranean chamber with walls lined in cryptic symbols and arcane drawings. The air grew heavy, and a voice seemed to whisper from the shadows. They couldn't decipher the symbols, but their curiosity only deepened. Over the following nights, they were tormented by vivid, unsettling dreams. Nightmares of an ancient evil lurking beneath the house consumed their sleep. Each morning, they woke up drained, with dark circles under their eyes. Their once loving relationship began to fray as tension mounted, fueled by the malevolent presence that seemed to grow stronger with each passing day. Objects moved on their own, and the house groaned with a sinister life of its own. One fateful night, the basement door swung open, and an otherworldly darkness spilled out, engulfing the entire house. Mark and Sarah found themselves trapped in a nightmarish labyrinth of shifting walls and endless corridors. The house seemed to feed on their fear, growing more powerful as it toyed with their minds. Desperation drove them to confront the cryptic symbols in the basement, hoping to break the curse. They traced the symbols with trembling hands, and as the last line was drawn, the darkness recoiled, retreating to the basement. Gasping for breath, they escaped the house, vowing never to return. As they fled through the forest, they glimpsed the mansion one last time, its windows glowing with malevolent energy. The Blackwood Manor had released them, but it hungered for new souls to ensnare. Mark and Sarah had survived their nightmarish ordeal, but they knew that some houses held secrets so dark that they could never truly be escaped, and the horrors of Blackwood Manor would haunt their dreams for the rest of their lives. Story 3. In the heart of the Louisiana bayou, deep within the swamps, there stood an old plantation house known as the Voodoo Mansion. Its sinister reputation was legendary among the locals, who believed it was cursed by ancient voodoo magic. One moonless night, a group of adventurous thrill-seekers decided to spend the night in the mansion, determined to prove that the stories were nothing more than superstition. Among them were Mike, a skeptic, Lisa, a paranormal enthusiast, and their friends, James and Sarah. As they entered the mansion, the air grew thick with a sense of foreboding. Shadows danced in the corners of their vision, and the creaking floorboards seemed to whisper ancient secrets. Lisa eagerly set up her equipment, determined to capture evidence of the supernatural. Shortly after midnight, the temperature plummeted, and the group heard eerie whispers echoing through the halls. Lisa's recording devices picked up faint voices speaking in an unfamiliar language. It sent shivers down their spines. Suddenly, the room grew impossibly cold, and a figure materialized before them, a spectral woman draped in tattered white lace. Her eyes, black as night, bore into their souls. She beckoned them to follow her through a hidden door that led to a dimly lit chamber deep within the mansion. Inside the chamber, they found a circle of candles, each one flickering with an unnatural flame. In the center lay a worn grimoire filled with voodoo incantations. The apparition pointed to the book and then to a nearby mirror. Mike, curious yet cautious, picked up the grimoire and began to read aloud from its pages. As he chanted, the room trembled, and the mirror's surface rippled like water. Suddenly, their reflections in the mirror transformed into grotesque, twisted versions of themselves, with hollow eyes and wicked grins. Panicked, they tried to escape the room, but the door slammed shut, trapping them inside. The malevolent reflections in the mirror began to reach out, attempting to pull them through the glass. Sarah screamed, and Lisa's equipment went haywire, capturing the chaos on video. With sheer determination, James and Mike smashed the mirror, shattering the evil reflections. The room fell silent, and the apparition vanished. Gasping for breath, they stumbled out of the chamber, determined to leave the mansion behind forever. As they fled into the night, they glanced back at the voodoo mansion, where eerie lights danced in the windows. They had survived the horrors of the mansion, but they knew that the voodoo magic that bound the place would endure. The legend of the voodoo mansion would live on, a chilling reminder that some curses were too powerful to be broken, and that even the bravest souls could be ensnared by the supernatural. Story 4. High in the mountains, nestled among the tall pines, there sat a quaint mountain lodge known as the Whispering Pines Inn. It had been a place of rest and relaxation for generations, a haven for those seeking refuge from the hustle and bustle of modern life. However, the peace it once offered was about to be shattered by a chilling secret. One winter's evening, a group of close friends, including Sarah, Mark, Lisa, and James, arrived at the inn for a weekend getaway. The snow fell softly outside, blanketing the world in white, and the warm glow of the fireplace inside promised comfort and coziness. As they settled in, strange things began to happen. Whispers echoed through the hallways, too faint to make out but too eerie to ignore. Objects moved on their own, and the temperature in their rooms fluctuated wildly, as if the very walls held a grudge. On their second night, they gathered in the inn's library to investigate the unsettling occurrences. Lisa, an amateur historian, had discovered that the Whispering Pines Inn was built on the grounds of an old monastery dating back centuries. It was said that the monks who once lived there had practiced forbidden rituals. Curiosity piqued, they decided to hold a séance, hoping to make contact with any restless spirits. The room grew icy cold, and a spectral figure materialized before them, a monk with a haggard face and empty eye sockets. He spoke of a terrible curse placed on the monastery long ago, a curse that bound the monks' souls to the land for eternity. Desperation filled the room as the monk's chilling tale unfolded. He beseeched them to break the curse by finding an ancient relic hidden deep within the monastery's crypt. It was the only way to free the tormented souls and end the haunting. With trembling hands, they descended into the crypt, guided by the flickering light of their lanterns. The air grew thick with dread as they uncovered the relic, an ornate chalice, encrusted with precious gems. As Mark carefully lifted the chalice, the very walls of the crypt seemed to tremble, and the apparitions of the monks closed in around them. They recited an incantation to break the curse, and as the last word left their lips, a blinding light filled the crypt. When their vision cleared, they found themselves back in the inn, the whispers silenced, and the apparitions gone. The curse had been broken. With a newfound sense of peace, they left the Whispering Pines Inn, forever changed by their encounter with the supernatural. They knew that some places held ancient secrets, and that the past could reach out to the present in the most haunting of ways.